What's going on, y'all? Hope y'all day is going well. Um, mine's not too bad. Not too bad. Just got left, domestic violence training for work. And that was interesting. Definitely learned a lot of good information. Um, in there, a lot of good conversations and inputs and feedbacks and whatnot. And it had me thinking a lot because a lot of it is based on what we do, my main job, what I do with fathers and whatnot. But in a whole, like it, brings up a lot of what we deal with eternally or internally, um, as far as dealing with stuff that we've seen, um, either in our youth or you know in adulthood or whatever, or whatnot. It's just I felt compelled to speak and share a little bit because a lot of it that has to do with it, resonates with what I go through or what I've been through, experiencing, um, and have to deal with. Because a lot of, when it comes with domestic violence, there, tend to be some type of childhood trauma that's involved. And especially, and that's for the adults that's going through it. And especially if the children is around. Now, one thing that's not really talked about as often is the effects on the children. Yeah, we talk about the effects that the the survivor of the domestic violence has on them, or the effect of the guilt, or just whatever it is, as far as the abuser of once they come to that realization of the harm that it did or whatnot, and just that whole dynamic. But a lot of times it's not discussed about the effects of the children seeing domestic violence, being around domestic violence, witnessing it. Um, how is that affecting their mental? What thoughts are going through their head? Because a lot of times you just dealt with, especially you know in my community, in my family, like that was like a norm, and it don't really get talked about or discussed. Like it was so normal when that happened. Um, and I just feel like recording in my car, so don't mind me. Um, but it was just so normal, right? To where it used to happen, like I, it used to happen like every holiday, right? Or every type of event or special occasion, whatever. And it was a norm. Like we would see it happen, something happens going on because alcohol, drugs, whatever it is involved. See it happen, see it. They talk about it. They break it up. Either somebody get sent home, or they whatever it happened, and then we just move on and go about it the rest of the night or the next day like nothing happened. And seeing that as a kid, it's that's a lot. That's a lot to see and witness, especially when you feel helpless. What can you do to help in that situation when you're just a child, and you're small, and you don't know as much, and you're not as strong and whatever, right? And that's tough. And especially during this process of healing and understanding myself and why I do or talk the way that I talk, or whatever, think the way that I think, and whatever the case may be. I tend to lean more on, well, I didn't move around a lot as a kid. So a lot of my communication, or my difficulties with connecting with people, or staying in contact, whatever. It just has to do with a lot of that has to do with me moving around a lot and not really necessarily knowing how to do that. Um, but after this training, a lot of it, it kind of shifted my mindset a little bit, and especially after I just read the book, "The Mountain Is You." I forgot the author, but that was a great book, and it talked about the effects of childhood trauma and how it can have an effect on the individual, to where if they haven't fully healed or gotten over whatever trauma that happened to them in the past, is that they're going to feel like they're kind of stuck at a spot to where they just can't um, grow and level up, and they feel like just some good, but then it feels like it's like never enough. To an extent, it's like you're not getting to exactly where you want. You get close, but it's something there that's holding you back, and a lot of that has to do with the trauma of whatever happened, and whatever it is that's going on is causing that block to not excel, especially if you have a defense mechanism in it because of the trauma. You're the survival mode, and it kicks in automatically, and that's another barrier, right? And so it caused me to think, it's like, man, this is wild, because it's a lot of the times, like, I feel like, one, I definitely am not the best at a lot of the things that have to do with emotions, and it's really because I just don't know how to do that. And I've experienced and witnessed a lot to where nobody really taught or showed me how to do that either. And then seeing what I've saw, it's kind of hard to do that, and it's just wild, man, to think, every day you try to learn and grow, but when domestic violence is involved, and if you're in my generation or whatnot, you've 9 times out of 10 you've witnessed or you're experiencing some type of childhood trauma, um, and whether it's verbal abuse, neglect, witnessing domestic violence, abuse, sexual abuse, whatever. We've seen, and we've gone through a lot, and a lot of us didn't have anybody to talk to, and maybe people felt like they could around them, but they didn't know how to effectively communicate either. So it's just interesting. So the more I learn on how to effectively communicate, how to actually express myself, how to and why to continue to reach out to people, to try to make connections and build relationships and keep in contact, even though a lot of those times it doesn't get reciprocated, which is another defense mechanism of mine, and a lot of the reasons why I don't reach out a lot to people. It's because I feel like it doesn't get reciprocated, and it's like a trigger, right? But it's understanding. I understand why I do it, is and what happened, but it's still there. You know what I'm saying? So and it's still in effect. And a lot of times, because of my defense mechanism, that term out of sight, out of mind, it happens extremely quick for me, and it's extremely easy and natural for me to just move on, and continue doing what I do, because it's what I've felt I've had to do for so many years. So yeah, when y'all talk about, I just wanted to share that, because it was some really good information from that. Domestic violence is a very serious thing, especially here in South Carolina. South Carolina is one of the worst states. That has to do with, you know, with domestic violence. Not the worst, but it's one of the worst. Um, but everything that involved with it, you know, and it's not just physical, it's emotional, it's verbal, it's economic, you know, and a lot of that causes childhood trauma, and we need to really take into consideration what affects or what are we doing that is negatively impacting our children, um, because they're going to grow up and have to deal with their own traumas in their own way, especially if we don't know how to deal with it and talk about it. How are we supposed to teach them how to deal with it and talk about it so the cycle continues? So a lot of these generational curses and all that stuff that's happening, it's because we're not correcting the actual root cause of the issue. And we need to start there. And in order to start there, starts with you first. Figuring out what you have going on and why, you know, seeking out help, getting information, learning. And the more you learn about yourself and grow, the easier it is to be able to share with others, um, you know, make better connections, effectively communicate with your friends, family, and actually build that circle around you, and it'll start to trickle out into the community. So I just wanted to share that because it was, you know, on my mind riding back, but my daggone stand was too shaky. So I figured I'd just park, um, come outside, enjoy some of this nice little weather, and share my thoughts with you guys. You know, hope you guys are able to, you know, pick up and hope, you know, some of this actually, you know, if some of these resonate with you guys, I hope you guys share, you know, in your comments or whatnot. In the comments, what do y'all think? Has this happened to you guys? Like I said, I just share this is my thoughts, it's my feelings, but I definitely like to hear from others because that's how I learn and grow and be able to add more tools to my toolbox to deal with the things that I got going on. And then therefore I'll be able to teach my kids that. So, you know, that's really all I got. I definitely appreciate y'all, you know, checking this out. Um, and, you know, listening to me and my story. Like I said, I definitely love to hear from you guys. And yeah, let's talk about it. Let's talk about the things that it is uncomfortable to talk about, because that is how we grow. That is how we become a better version of ourselves, is dealing with the hard stuff, dealing with the things that we don't want to talk about, places where we don't want to go back to, but it's necessary and affecting us now, probably more than what you really realize. Yeah, you guys enjoy the rest of y'all day, wherever you're at. I'm tired, so I'm gonna go in there, kick my feet up for a little bit before I gotta go pick up my kids. So yeah, that's it. Peace, love.